I was helped to my feet by several hands. I feared I might be attacked, and tears streamed down my face, blurring my vision. Someone asked me something, but suddenly, I felt unwell. My heart tightened, and I struggled to breathe. Then, a sharp, electric pain and flashing lights in my head, then nothing. I floated weightlessly above my body, seeing people around me laughing and taking pictures. 3 female mall security guards shouted for everyone to back off. One urgently spoke into her walkie-talkie while the others laid me down, pressing on my chest. Strangely, one leaned over, holding my nose. It was bizarre, and I laughed, surprised to hear a tinkling laugh nearby. An ambulance raced into the mall parking lot, scattering people, stopping beside me and the guards. 2 men jumped out, quickly preparing a gurney and rushing to my side. The crowd, realizing something was wrong, tried to get closer but was kept back by the guards. More guards appeared, pushing the crowd back. I felt a tickling sensation in my chest, glancing back to see my prom dress and bra cut away. I didn't care about the dress, my sister would be mad, but it wasn't my concern. Another, stronger tingling pain hit my chest. I watched my body convulse as they used the paddles again. Everything faded, and I returned to my body, hearing someone say, "Got him back." Good sinus rhythm. Start a lidocaine drip. I drifted off again, knowing I was just asleep this time. I woke up in the hospital, noticing several things at once, my mom crying beside me, Dad looking tearful, but my sister was nowhere in sight. I felt intense pain, like a sledgehammer to the chest, but one relief was that I wasn't wearing my sister's stuff anymore. They must have cut it all off. I wondered if they had managed to remove the paint too. Going to school like that would be a disaster. Uncomfortable, I tried to shift position. My mom cried tears of joy, grabbing my hand tightly and exclaiming, "Thank God you're back, sweetheart." We were so worried. "How do you feel? Are you all right?" "I'm okay, Mom, except my chest feels like it got hit by a mule, and I have a killer headache." "Can I get some aspirin?" Mom chuckled while Dad fetched a small paper cup and water, gently lifting my head so I could take the pills and drink. I hadn't realized how thirsty I was until that first sip. As Dad started to pull the glass away, I grunted, trying to finish it all, and he let me drain it. "Thanks, Dad. I was really thirsty." "Are you guys okay? You look exhausted." Mom laughed, saying they'd sleep better now that I was out of danger. "I wasn't in the woods, Mom. Sis and her friends dumped me at the mall. It was the worst time of my life, so mean of her. Her friends glued me into her clothes. When they left me there, I felt like I was going to die with everyone laughing and taking pictures. Well, at least with all that paint Sis sprayed on my face, they won't recognize me." My mom started to laugh initially, but then her expression turned furious, a side I'd never seen before. "Why did your sister do this to you, sweetheart? Do you know?" "I feel so embarrassed, Mommy." She came home and caught me wearing her cashmere sweater, the pretty soft one. She almost lost it, and I thought she was going to hit me again. But one of her friends stopped her, and they huddled, talking for a bit. Then she asked me in front of everyone if I wanted to be a girl. I couldn't tell her the truth with all her friends there. I already get teased enough at school because of my size and shape. They held me down while Sis got what she needed, then helped her dress me and held me again while she sprayed paint on my face. "I don't understand why she's always so mean to me, Mommy. I let her take whatever she wants from my room without making a fuss. I just wanted to feel how soft that sweater was." "Was that so bad, Mommy?" "No, dear, that wasn't right, but you shouldn't have gone into her room. That was an invasion of her privacy. But what she did to you was not okay. The doctors were worried about the paint on your lips. It's toxic, and they think it made you sick." She turned to Dad, asking him to find Sarah and bring her to the hospital to see her brother. "Oh, Mommy, please don't. I don't want her laughing at me anymore, please." "Don't worry, Michael. I promise she won't be laughing, Mom said coldly, and I recoiled, thinking she was angry at me. Oh, sweetheart, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to scare you. Are you okay? Do you feel any pain in your chest or anywhere? No, Mommy, I'm okay. I've just never heard you sound like that before. Are you sure you're okay? I felt sleepy, and they must have noticed because Dad let my head rest on the pillows. They told me to sleep well and not worry, that they were here for me. I smiled at them and drifted into a deep, dreamless sleep. The doctor entered the room just as the child on the bed drifted off to sleep. Ah, good. Rest is exactly what this poor abused body needs right now. David, Allie, there are some difficult things I need to discuss before involving family services. Both David and Allie looked bewildered and concerned, starting to ask, "What do you?" The doctor raised his hand to stop their questions. I'm sorry to have to do this, but when a child arrives at the hospital with fresh and old bruises, abrasions, and cuts, we have protocols for suspected abuse. Sadly, the signs are usually correct. Your child has suffered severe abuse, with this latest incident being particularly concerning. Fortunately, the ink didn't have time to harm your child, but we'll need weekly checks to ensure no lingering residues pose future risks. The paint on the face contained lead compounds, requiring deep cleaning at least 3 more times over the next 2 weeks to prevent lead poisoning. The glue, though bizarrely used, was standard and mostly removed. Any residual bits will naturally wear off. Overall, most contaminants have been addressed, but we've discovered your child has a heart condition requiring careful monitoring over the next months. Child Services may consider removing the child from what seems a dangerous environment to ensure safety during investigations and stabilization of the child's health. Now, the difficult part. I've known you both for over 20 years and would never have imagined you capable of this abuse, especially to such a sweet child. It's hard for me to speak civilly now, but I know in my heart it can't be you. The question remains, who could do something so despicable? Wait, there's more. In cases like this, we perform a full-body MRI and CT scan, revealing something unusual. He pulled out a sheet from an envelope and displayed it on a wall panel, a fuzzy outline of Michael with clearly visible internal organs. Pointing to an area near Michael's thighs, he asked Allie, "Do you recognize anything familiar here?" Allie peered closer and gasped in recognition. That's a uterus, and there are fallopian tubes and ovaries. My God! Is this really Michael? Under these circumstances, these images suggest Michelle, but you should decide on her name. Blood work reveals abnormalities. Typically, with this profile, we'd expect Klinefelter syndrome and associated challenges, but this young lady is remarkably bright and capable, unlike what Klinefelters might predict. Sarah fits that category. Genetically, she's XXXXY, and it's surprising any male traits emerged. Congratulations, Allie, after 11 or 12 years, it's a girl. Allie had both hands over her mouth, staring at her new daughter on the hospital bed with newfound understanding. Her eyes wide with wonder, she looked at her husband, who beamed with joy. I always felt he was too delicate and sweet to be a boy, but I went with what I saw and tried to teach her all I could about being a man. Now it makes sense why my lessons didn't stick. But I couldn't be happier. I love this child dearly, whether male or female. David nodded, smiling. Oh, Allie, I'm thrilled to have another daughter. Maybe this one will truly be a daughter, unlike that other troublemaker I gave birth to. Dr. Thomas was shocked by the unexpected intensity from someone so gentle. What do you mean? Sarah? My goodness. Did she do this to her own sister? We need to get her into therapy immediately. If she's responsible for even half of what happened to little Michelle, she's deeply troubled. Do you know where she is? David shook his head. I was just about to find out and bring her here to face the consequences before you came in. I'll handle it now. He left to locate a phone and track down Sarah. Allie approached Dr. Thomas, tears in her eyes, hugging him tightly. Thank you for the good news, but what about child services? They might want to take my baby away, and I can't bear that right now. My new daughter needs her mommy, and mommy needs her so much. Ben reassured her, saying they just needed Sarah's testimony to resolve things and treat her. You're going to have such a wonderful time with your new daughter. And don't worry about Sarah, we'll help her get back on track, and she'll learn to love her new sister. Allie looked torn between sadness and anger. I don't know if I can trust her around my baby again, Ben. What does this say about me as a mother? We're supposed to love our children unconditionally, but I can't see her as my child anymore, only as a monster. And her friends who helped her do this, they're just as guilty. What kind of people do this? What's happening to our children? Are they born without souls or conscience? I feel so foolish for not seeing any of this under my own roof. My poor baby suffered at the hands of that monster. Why? Why did this happen? Look at her, she's the epitome of goodness and grace, yet she came from the same parents as that beast. No, I can't take her back. I couldn't love something like that. Allie, Ben interrupted gently. You're exhausted and overwhelmed right now. A good night's sleep will help put things in perspective. I know you too well to think you'd ever abandon your child. Really, Ben? Moments ago, you thought I abused my children, and now I'm Mother of the Year? I'm not sure about anything right now. You're right, though, I'm exhausted. Can I bring that other bed over for Michelle so I can be there when she wakes up? The doctor moved the bed in question beside Michelle's and made it up for Allie. Feeling remorseful for his earlier thoughts, he turned to her to apologize, but she gently placed a finger on his lips with a faint smile, reassuring him it was okay. He was just concerned for his patient, not knowing the real culprit was a young girl. As Allie settled onto the bed, there was a commotion in the hallway. David entered, guiding a scared and uncertain Sarah into the room. Allie walked over to her other daughter and without warning, slapped Sarah hard, sending her stumbling against the wall. Bitch! Allie muttered before returning to Michelle's bedside to rest. Sarah, tearful and red-faced, turned to her father. Why did Mom do that? What did I do? Aren't you going to do something? David regarded her with a mixture of disdain and disappointment, gesturing toward Michelle. How long have you been tormenting your sister? How many times did you hurt her, cover her in chemicals, or put her in terrifying situations like the one that almost killed her? Your mother is right about you. You've always been a prima donna, arrogant, self-serving, and self-righteous. I can't believe someone like you is our child. I don't know where all your hate comes from, but what you did to that defenseless child is unforgivable. Don't bother trying to explain, I won't believe a word. Save it for child services. Enjoy your new home because you're never welcome in ours again. His hand trembled with restrained anger, torn between wanting to strike her and restraining himself. Sarah pressed herself against the wall, terrified of her once loving father. What are you talking about, Daddy? That little intruder was in my room wearing MY clothes. What would you have done? I was just having some fun with him, for God's sake. Just a bit of glue and paint. What's the big deal? Sarah's words were met with immediate interference from Ben Thomas, likely saving her from serious harm. He caught the blow with his hands, deflecting it away from Sarah. David, calm down and take some deep breaths. Let me handle this with Sarah, he said, motioning David to comfort his wife, who looked shaken. You're incredibly strong, David. Have you been working out? Ben added, lightening the tension. Turning to Sarah, Dr. Thomas guided her to a chair on the other side of the room and began explaining the gravity of her actions, though he doubted she fully comprehended the impact of her bullying over the years. Sarah had a major meltdown and needed to be sedated. When child services came to interview the family, Sarah was only able to be spoken to in a padded hospital room, restrained and sedated. Sarah's friends, who had aided in humiliating Michelle, received 5 years probation, 1,000 hours of community service each, and a strict curfew that significantly restricted their social lives. Their reputations suffered in the community, as Michelle, formerly Michael, was widely loved and respected. They struggled to understand their actions during their probation, grappling with the consequences of their depraved indifference and other charges. Michelle thrived and blossomed into a beautiful and beloved individual, admired for her intelligence, kindness, vivacity, and modesty. She captivated everyone she met, and her parents couldn't have been prouder. Despite her popularity, Michelle remained grounded and never took advantage of others, even though she easily could have. On special occasions, she wore her favorite soft cashmere sweater, once belonging to her sister, Sarah. Sarah's recovery was slow, and although she could communicate in halting speech, there was hope she might fully recover one day. However, legal repercussions loomed, potentially mitigated by a plea of insanity. This story serves as a poignant reminder to think before causing harm to others. It underscores the need for more love and understanding in the world, and perhaps more individuals like Michelle.